So, you want to talk about the best render settings in Blender? Well, you've come to the right place. Hey guys, welcome back to TutsByKai. I'm Kai, and today we are back once again taking a look at how to render your projects out to different formats and whatnot. So, if you open up Blender, you should see this. There you go. And we'll go up here to the top right in this panel up here. This is Render Properties. And you can see basically we have a few settings here, which is Render, Viewport. Make sure the sampling is high enough for whatever project you're using. So if you render your image or your video or whatever you're making, and you have a lot of fireflies or like pixels or something that looks kind of blurry or not smooth enough, then you can definitely turn this render samples up. 64 is a good way to start. But yeah, just keep that in mind. If things are looking kind of like grainy or kind of not as smooth as you want them to, then maybe go up and go to the render and change the render samples. The viewport is on 16, so if you want to see what it's going to look like in the final render, make sure you change it to 64. You don't really need to do that because it's going to kind of lag you a lot, depending on what computer you have. And even if you have a good computer, it'll still lag a lot because 64 is a lot to see in the viewport. All right, now, the main tab is the Output Properties tab, and this is the tab where you're going to do most of the stuff that you want to change during the render. So you can change frame rate here, you can change the resolution. The default is set to 1920 1080, and the percent is basically just like the render resolution. So if I half this, if I put this in half, it's going to be half of 1920 1080, and so forth, so on. So make sure that's on 100%. By default, it is, so don't worry about that. You can change the start and end frames here. You can also do it down here. But most importantly, the biggest difference you're going to want to make sure you change is in the output section right here in the bottom right hand corner. So we can change the file formats to multiple different image outputs like JPEG, PNG, BMP. And we can also change to video file formats, which is FFmpeg video and AVI RAW and AVI JPEG. The biggest one you're going to want to use is probably FFmpeg, because when you select that, you can go down to encoding and then change the container and the video codec separately, of course. So I can change the container to MPEG4, which is just MP4, and we can change the video codec to, we can leave it the way that it is, or we can change it to WebM, depending on what you're doing. Maybe you need that. And you can also change it to FFmpeg video codec number 1. The rest of these you don't really probably need to use other than H.264. So H.264 is the default. That's what you're going to want to use if you're just rendering an MP4 video. That's it. That's all you want to do. But if you want to render a video or actually just a video, because images you don't have to do this. So if you want to render a video with a transparent background, you cannot just go to the main tab here and go down to Film. Make sure transparency is checked. That's not good enough for video. It's good enough for pictures, but for video, you're going to have to actually go and change this this video codec to FFmpeg number 1. And then, as you can see up here, RGBA shows up, so you can select that, which means red, green, blue, alpha, because the other options is just black and white and red, green, blue, which means that the transparency will not work. The transparency will show up as black. So make sure that you change this to FFmpeg video codec number 1, and then you can select RGBA. Now that's done, we can obviously render things in video and with a transparent background if you want to. Now the final thing that I want to talk about is going ahead and changing the output location. So of course you can just hit the little folder icon, and you can see it'll bring up all these different places that you can go and save your file to. You can go to home, desktop, documents, wherever you want on your computer, obviously, and then just select a place. I'm just gonna go ahead and select downloads folder and hit accept. As you can see, we're going to just hit that right there, boom, and I can see home, Kai, downloads, and then you can just render your file, and then it'll just render to the downloads folder. Super easy stuff. And finally, if you have audio in your scene down in your timeline somewhere, which you go ahead and import by going up to changing your timeline to the video sequence editor, and then just right-clicking, or actually not right-clicking, sorry, going up to add, and you can just add in sound. If you've done that, by default, it will not render when you render your project because this is set to no audio. So if you come down here, make sure audio is opened up. Make sure audio is selected to a file format, so MP3 or AAC or anything else you want to do. Those are basically the only two that I would recommend, or maybe FLAC as well. The other ones aren't exactly the best and or are not accepted by most places you would probably use audio sources in, so I would probably go with MP3 or AAC. FLAC is really good as well, but like I said, most of the time you're probably going to want to go with either MP3 or AAC. So make sure one of those is selected, and then you can go ahead and then render whatever you have in your scene with audio. And that's basically all of the basics you're going to need to know to render any file in Blender. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you learned something new today. I will see you in the next one, but until then, bye-bye.